Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the heart of winter here in the Norwegian heartlands, where life goes on, even if the rest of the dressage world is not going on at the moment. We'll be back with a lot of talk about how to do it better in just a few seconds. See you guys. And here we go. Welcome. We have taken it upon ourselves today to talk about the fact, we think, that it is possible to train high energetic horses without the use of hard force. We will have a look at all of those things as we go through this this evening, and this is of course somewhat related to what has happened lately in the dressage world, with this scandal going on in Denmark, and with all the allegations of these methods being widespread in dressage at the moment. Of course, this will probably burn through the whole riding scene and tear everything apart, I suppose. It's at least that's not an inconceivable outcome. So what we are going to do today is to go through some images, some video of horses that are really high energy, and also we will show that there are ways to see whether the horse is trained well or not in the dressage technical terms.
In the competition, so you can, we'll get to that, but the problem for the organizers of a show is that they can't do anything about how the horse is trained at home,
obviously.
And we love the sport as well,
of course,
but we want to be try to be balanced, try to help and not be angry. And we know that it's difficult. We have done things ourselves that we're not so proud of. But we want to be the ones who are saying, perhaps we can do it in this way instead, so it will become easier. And also our goal is that the horse must have, there must be something in this for the horse as well. Mm-hmm. It's not just for the rider. The horse is not just a prop, a competition prop. Yep. It's a living being that it should be a friend. So, and then I was discussing this lately with someone from the sport, and he said that many trainers said that it's impossible to train a high energy horse like that without some force and some hard, tools like jaw reins and curb bits and whips and spurs. And we are going to try to argue it is possible, because we have high energy horses and sports horses as well, but it takes longer time.
Yeah,
and you won't become a millionaire or a billionaire.
No, and you will mess up on the way.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
You will.
It's we just had this little chat, the little group here, and we talked about the fact that all of us, everyone listening and everyone around here, we're on this journey from a bad rider to a better rider. That's the journey everyone is on. It is easy to fall in some ditches, especially if you're a show person or a competitive rider. It is of course easy to chase the win, or to chase what the audience is going to respond to. Those things are so easy to chase too much, so that it becomes more important than the road there. But it is important to understand and remember that a dressage test is called that. It's called a test. So what you do is you test the training you have done. That's the idea of it. To see, would I be able to ride this horse well in combat? That is an old take of it, but that's also probably where dressage comes from. So we need to have horses that are willing and able to do really difficult stuff. And of course, in that, you find that it is not easy to negotiate all this. If you are driven and ambitious, it's really easy to fall into some sort of trap here. And we all have. Everybody has to some degree, I suppose. That's not pointing any fingers. Obviously, it's more or less like pointing fingers at myself at the moment. But you guys probably understand that. So what we are going to do today is we are going to bring out a bunch of pictures and a bunch of video that shows this is what it looks like in the high-level competition. And we will say that this and this is wrong. And the reasons that it's wrong is this and that. And we would rather have it this way or another way. And try and show that there are obvious ways to get there. Obviously, we are not fantastic riders with fantastic horses that we can just buy all of the expensive horses with the best genetic potential and bring out everything in them because we have all the time in the world to do that. That's not how it is. Like I said, welcome to the heart of winter in Norway. It's not easy. So we can only show you the way to go towards there. But we will do our very best to show and tell that. As usual, we encourage you guys to ask when you find something that you are interested to know more about, so we can go deeper into what exactly you guys want to hear. I would like to start with some pictures.
Okay.
And maybe we should just start with some of the. This is what's going on in top level dressage.
Yeah, and I like to repeat again what we're gonna do is to look at how it looks when they're riding the test, because that is where you can see if the horse has been trained in a way that sort of you know you need to. I'm saying that they break the horse in two. We're talking all the you guys who have followed us for a long time, you know how we're talking about riding the horse over the back all the time, that the front and back has to be connected, and there has to be diagonality and all those things. And if you look at the dressage horses in the top, in the Grand Prix and in the circus there, the ones that win are the ones that are not over the back. And we're going to show you that. And in order to get that, you need to train the horse in a special way. And that is what some people call it rollkur. There are other ways to call it. There are other ways to force the horse or trick train the horse to do this. But let's have a look at that first.
Yeah.
Shall we look at like this one?
Let's go.
It's 0107. And this is a drawing that is made by our daughter Torunn.
Yep.
She's been tracing this really accurately from one rider, one of the top riders. And we don't want to be, picking on specific riders, because this is a system fault, or this is everyone is riding like this in the top. And when people see this, they are like, wow, this is really beautiful. Look how high the horse is lifting his front legs.
Yeah.
But what do you see, Pelle?
What I see. You want me to break it down piece by piece?
Yeah.
All right. So I want to start at the bottom with the legs. So what we see is that the front, what do you call that? lowest joint in the front leg?
The fetlock.
The fetlock in the front leg is pushed through more than the fetlock in the hind leg.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We know that in dressage, the point is to be able to ride the horse with more weight towards the hind legs than the front legs. In this picture, that's obviously not the case. So that's one fault. There's supposed to be some parallelity. We will have a look at that in another picture between some parts of the hind leg and some parts of the front leg. But what I would say here is that the hind legs here are really lazy. Also, the angle of the whole hindquarters is out to the back. Mm-hmm. So those hind legs are not able to lift at all. They will push only. Also, the back is obviously dropped. Added to all that, you can see the nose is well behind the vertical, and the highest point of the horse is around the third vertebrae. Mm. All of these things together, as we have talked about time and time again, are signs that the horse is not connected through the ligaments that should help carry the horse. So this picture here is so full of faults on the lowest level. So the rhythm is not correct. The horse is not loose. Mm. And there is no correct contact because the horse is behind the vertical. The mouth is open. The hindquarters are dead. So it is impossible for this horse to come to the contact. And if those three things are not present, we cannot, under any circumstance, discuss whether the horse is collected, whether there is impulsion, or whether the horse is straight. We won't know because all of the faults are so obvious.
And we would never criticize a rider for these faults if it wasn't because they're actually riding in the World Cup. And they're supposed to be the best riders in the world, and they're rewarded for this riding. They are rewarded for the faults that we see here. The more they're lifting the front legs, the more points they get.
Yeah.
Shall we have a look at the one with
Yeah, look at 0108, please.
Here Torun has put some red lines on the parts of the legs that should be parallel to each other.
Yeah, and from what I can see, they're not quite...
As far as
they're almost 90 degrees off parallel.
Yeah.
Almost 90 degrees.
At least a lot.
It's... Yeah.
Yeah. So, we have talked about this before, that you know that this, you know, the forearm, is it what it's called, from the front knee, the sort of it's sort of the wrist of the horse, and to the elbow, that part of the front leg, and the cannon on the diagonal hind leg should be parallel. And then we haven't got any drawings from that circus to show how it should be. So we have to use some pictures of ourselves. Yeah. So, mind you, there is a thing here that needs to be addressed as well. So the front leg lifts way higher than the hind leg, which means the front leg has a bigger movement than the hind leg, which means probably that the horse is carrying the weight in front, especially when you put it with all the other thingies. So this horse will lift himself with the front and pull himself forward. Can I have a look at this one? 0083? Okay, so this is obviously in no way perfect either. You see the horse is also here just slightly behind the vertical, and the third vertebrae is probably the highest point here as well. But this horse is broken the other way, you see that? So the hind leg lifts higher than the front leg.
It's kind of hard to see the fetlocks, but from what I can see on that front fetlock, it is not pushed through to any great degree.
It looks energetic behind.
This is energetic behind, from what I can remember at least. But of course, it is also to some degree blocked in the back. And that's why the horse becomes too round in the front.
Yeah, and a little stressed.
Yes. And this is that part is the same fault as we can see in the other horses. It's a bit too round in the front.
And it's opening his mouth as
well. Opening his mouth just a slight bit. So this is the same fault in the front, or on the back and on the neck. It's the same fault. But this horse moves with a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And so it carries from behind. Two different outcomes, even though some of the faults are the same. Interesting to look at, in my view. Did you put in a piaffe as well?
That is a piaffe.
Can I have a look at that?
That's.
Can I look at 0113?
This is a piaffe.
This is supposed to be a piaffe.
It's trotting in place.
Yeah. But can I have a look at another piaffe? Can I see 0086? I don't want to even comment on this. Can we go back to 0113?
It's not always like that in the top. But what you can see that it's, this piaffe on the forehand that you often see.
This is obviously on the forehand. Way, 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 way behind the vertical. But
it's stepping in place.
It'll stand in place and step, but this does not train the horse to carry its weight from behind, which is what we are aiming for in the classical dressage. Whether you can call it whatever you like, if it's classical or if it's academic or if it's sports dressage, what we're aiming for is that the horse should carry its weight behind. But we have shown now that neither in the extended trot nor in the piaffe is the horse carrying weight behind. So if we don't follow the rules for our own sport, we are on some sort of wild goose chase. It's really, really difficult to get that done in the correct ways. So
here is the reason why the horse is moving like this.
Can you show me?
It's like 0112. This is also drawn from a training picture, and this is what the hyperflexion, that they're overstretching the horse's top line so that it moves. It's not bending to the side, it's bending like so that the chin of the horse,
chin to chest,
almost touches the chest. And the horse, you can see that the horse drops his back and overstretches the neck, and the hindquarters are sort of moving upwards, and they're often using either the curb bit or the draw reins to curl the horse's head, neck, and pull the head down. And what we say is that you should never try to pull the head down. You should try to lift the back up. If the horse lifts his back up, the head will come down, and then the horse will carry its own head, and then he will when the back comes up, he naturally will tuck his bum under. So
what happens when you do this? If you put the horse into this position, you will override most of the natural movement patterns of the horse, because what this feels like is that if you put energy into the top line at this moment, into the top line, mind you, all the way from the hind legs forward to the neck, it will feel like the neck is going to break. I'm not saying that the neck will break. That's not what's going to happen. There's not enough power in your hand to actually break it, especially in one movement, right? But it will feel as if something's going to snap if you put power into it. This is the exact reason why in combat sports a headlock is one of the most efficient ways to stop your opponent. If you block the head in a weird position with the neck in some sort of weird position, the person won't move.
That's
even
the
if they're
reason why
trained.
I can't run.
That's the same reason. Your head
Because
is in
my
a
neck
perpetual headlock.
My neck is in headlock all the time.
It keeps itself in headlock though, because it has a trauma that was created a long time ago by no fault of anyone really. So that happens. Important. So what we're getting at is that the training methods that bring about the results that get rewarded on the highest level in this particular sport at this moment, I'm not saying that any other sport that involves riding is free of any of this stuff. I have no idea how this is, how training is done with Icelandic horses that compete or cowboy horses, and I don't know, and it is none of my concern because I can't put my fingers in every pie out there. That's impossible. So we are going to keep to our own little thing, right? So we have shown you some pictures of some riders on the top that ride obviously full of faults.
So what we're going to address is that that statement that I heard earlier this week, that it's impossible to train these horses without draw reins, hard curb bits, spurs.
For the hard use.
Hard use, yeah. Because what we say is that all these four things can be used in a good way.
Yep.
Even the draw reins. I'm using draw reins, but I never use it to pull the horse's head down.
No.
It's counter efficient. It's not gonna work. It's gonna pull the horse apart. So what? I'm not going to go into that now. Just say that the draw reins, if you fit them on the side of the horse and not between the legs, and also you use it for making the horse. If the horse has difficulty bending in a good way in the whole body, you can prevent him from positioning him in the wrong way to the outside. That is it. Then if you use it in that way and you are good at yielding your hands forwards, then it might be a good tool, but you should never. If you're not very experienced, you should never use it.
No.
And you should never use it to draw the horse or pull the horse's head down and hold it there.
No.
No.
So the problem that we are facing isn't that some people do this. The problem is that some horses are so high energy that it is really difficult to contain that energy. This is the main problem we're aiming at. This happens with a lot of competition horses, whether they are used for show jumping or for jousting for that matter, or for dressage, or even race trotters, ex-race trotters that are brought in to be a riding horse for some person, or gallop horses as well, other race horses. Horses that are supposed to move with extreme amounts of energy. It goes without saying that it is extremely difficult to contain all that energy. So you have to have some way to relieve that energy in a direction or in a way of movement that doesn't throw the rider all the time.
And there is also a difference between tension and energy.
Of course. The difference is that if it's tension, you or the horse is in the way of itself and you will get thrown. Or you'll have to correct for it with sharp means. And that is not often very good, but sometimes you'll manage to hold on with the combination of your reins, your seat, and your legs, and you won't fall off even if the horse is bouncing about. Sometimes, but you shouldn't nonetheless, of course. So what we are aiming at is to get that energy, which means you are now in control of it to some degree, or at least you don't get thrown by it, and let the horse move with this energy. The question is, how on earth do you do that? And that is what we are going to try and show a little bit of with a bit of our videos today. Will you choose a good starting point?
Yeah, let's start with, I would like to start with this, because it's like you have to, all riding is in degrees. And if you start with, trying to jump onto the horse and take out its energy just by bucking around, just like you see in the cowboy movies, you don't have to do that. You can start really slowly and nicely and very safely. You should do a lot of work before you start riding. And of course, all dressage riders know that you can lunge, you can do a lot of stuff. But lunging is just one part of it, and lunging is not enough. Even I can say that I lunge a lot, and I think I'm quite good at it. But there are things that you can't fix in the lunge as well. So what I often always start with horses that I don't know is the thing that we talked about that I called untangling, taking away the tension in the neck and the top line.
In the neck, all right.
Yeah, and that is 67-3-0. Yeah. And this is Thea, who's living at our farm, and our Lusitano stallion, and he's got some tension in his neck. And I guess every horse I see on clinics has got tension in his neck.
Of course, horses do. People do. I haven't met a person yet that doesn't have tension in their neck. So what's happening here is that this horse had reasons for tension in his neck that proved to be what do you call those teeth?
Wolf tooth.
A wolf tooth that we thought had fallen out, and the veterinarian, the tooth fairy, had a look at it, and it looked like it had fallen out.
Yeah.
But there was a piece left inside the mouth that we didn't see, and the veterinarian didn't see, and by a coincidence, like 2 or 3 years later, we found out that. So. But that horse became very stiff in his neck because of that. And that thus became very high energy, let's put it that way.
High strung. Yeah.
High strung, yes.
No wonder.
Yeah, obviously. And it was extremely difficult to predict what would happen, even if you had prepared to the best, or even if I had prepared to the best of my abilities. It still wasn't possible to predict. But this made it better.
Yeah, and now really in a slow way, safe and not much stress for the horse. She just puts her fingers on the stiff muscles in the neck and positions his head to the inside so that he can stretch his outside.
Yeah, and ever so gently.
Ever so gently, and it must be done while he's moving, because then she actually also accesses the rest of the body and the rhythm of the
in the beginning. Sometimes you have to do it while standing still, because that's even lower impact.
I usually do it when the horse is standing still, and when the horse is ready to move, to test out if can I do this when I'm moving as well. Yeah, the horse will start. Yeah, and you have to listen to the horse, what the horse needs to do. And if you are able to do this, and of course you can have a therapist that is treating the horse and checking that everything is okay. But you can do a lot of things by yourself as well to check out, is this horse tense? Because if it's tense, then it will not be energy, it will be tension, and tension is much more difficult to sit on.
Yep.
Because the horse will explode if there is some things that is painful.
Yes. Can you show me 0113 again? All right. So we just saw that there are ways to release tension in the neck. Mm-hmm. And the reason, in my opinion, we start in the neck, and I want to talk about this a little bit. Mm-hmm. The reason we start with the neck is that it is very sensitive.
Yep.
Okay. The reason the horse is overbent in this instance is also because the horse is very sensitive in the neck. In one instance, we try to relieve that tension to allow the horse to move without tension and move freely within himself. Mm-hmm. That's why we do the untangling. Mm-hmm. This is not done for the same reason. This is done to exploit the fact that the horse is very sensitive in the neck. Mm. And when you command that the horse can't get out of this position, you have forced the horse. Mm-hmm. You can force that horse not necessarily with power. You don't necessarily need power to make the horse move behind the vertical. Mm. If you are precise and gentle with your hands, you can make the horse tip its head too deep inside anyway, and then it won't dare come forward. If you add that to a tense back because your seat is suboptimal,
and leaning back like this and sitting on the bum and pressing,
of course,
pressing the saddle forwards downwards and forwards.
So you're pressing the saddle down, which means the back becomes tense. And that tension means that the energy can now not lift through the back. It has to go forward to the bit. And when it comes forward to the bit, the horse can't straighten out because it is sensitive in its neck.
If you lift the horse up in the front afterwards, then the horse will start using his front legs like this.
Yes, because you block that down like that, and then you move the whole lever.
Yeah, the whole lever.
So you're leveraging your seat and your hand against each other to produce this fault.
Yeah.
This is the reason why it is dangerous or wrong to ride behind the vertical. If you take away the tension, the energy, and if you make your seat very loose, sometimes the horse might move behind the vertical anyway, and that might not be dangerous.
No.
But it is every time you do that, it becomes just a little bit more difficult to get the horse forward again. And I'm not but let's balance that out, because if you take that one thing to ride the horse just a little bit behind the vertical makes it more difficult to ride the horse forward to the vertical again. Mm-hmm. Okay. But riding the horse at or in front of the vertical all the time is just as difficult.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why we struggle, right? All of us, we struggle. And of course, the people that we have seen at the top in the dressage, they also find it difficult to ride a high-energy horse.
Everybody would.
Yes. Yeah. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Luckily, it's not easy. Mm-hmm. All right. You want to move on?
Yeah. So let's see now, because we have there. Obviously, you often start lunging the horse when it's young, and if when I'm lunging the young horse, I start with without the side reins, but I'm using the side reins so that the horse can find the correct outline to get the right balance. But I'm also using that slowly. And I start with the inside rein. We have shown that in some of the first streams we had, I think.
Yep.
And the reason why I start with the inside rein first is that the horse, if it's very tense and has got lots of energy and needs to explode a little, it can explode out through the outside shoulder.
Yes.
And that is then it's, you can let off some steam. And stretch is outside shoulder and outside neck and find the balance there. And then you put on the outside rein. And then we can show a couple of videos with the Parsifal.
Yeah, please.
And it's like 0, 4, 10. Yeah. And here he's got a side rein, and also you see that I've put the lunge rope through the bit on the inside and to the girth. So that's a quite mild way to help him to position himself to the inside. But he's also able to stretch if he wants to.
Yeah.
And he's able to use his energy forwards. It's not dangerous for anyone.
Right. So instead of sitting on top here, obviously you're lunging him and allowing the energy through the horse. There looks to me like the outside side rein is pretty long.
Yeah.
And the inside, he can sort of adjust that by making the circle smaller or pull himself to the outside or inside or something like that. So, but there are things here that are worth talking about. Sometimes he opens his mouth. Not because of the rider's hand, obviously. There is no rider. Not because of the rider's seat. There is no rider. But still he does that. And that looks to me like it is when he's not quite balancing.
Yeah, and also,
now he's struggling against it, and then he opens his mouth.
Yeah, and also, you know that most often when the horse opens his mouth when you ride, it's not because you pull at the reins, it's because he's stiff somewhere in his neck or his jaw.
Yeah.
And you know the point of training the horse is to get rid of those tensions. The reason why the horse is not supposed to be opening his mouth in the dressage test is that the rules are there to see if you have been training in a good way.
Yeah.
So it's the result of the training that is to be shown.
Yeah.
So for instance, if the horse stops squarely with all the hoofs in the corners of a rectangle, that is a good halt.
Yep.
But that is the reason why that is a good halt is that the horse will stop like that if you ride him in a good and balanced way and if he's straight.
Yeah.
So that they say, okay, if this horse stops like that the training has been good. But many people say, okay, the horse needs to stop like that, so I must trick train him into stopping in that way. And I think that is the wrong way of thinking. So when we lunge him, like when he's doing walking like that or cantering like this, a little behind the vertical, a little like doing with his mouth, then he's saying to us, I'm stiff here. And that is what we have to work with. We have to let him go, let him run and become loose, find his rhythm without the rider up, without the rider sort of interfering or disturbing his work. He needs to find this before we sit up. And develop his muscles and all the rhythm, the looseness, and the contact.
So the feedback, what we see here is what we are going to feed into later in the same training session and also in later training sessions.
Yeah.
Because every time he opens his mouth, you get some information of why he opens his mouth. Yeah. There is somewhere in the back, somewhere in the neck, somewhere there is tension that we need to relieve somehow.
And you see here, he's behind the vertical many times.
Yes.
But it's not because I force him to.
No, you see that the lunge line is mostly hanging.
Yeah. And the lunge line is it looks tense from the bit to the girth.
Yeah.
But he's allowed to stretch as much as he can because
there is no block or lock on that.
Because the wrong thing is to block the horse into something and force him and not release.
Yeah.
Because then he is not able to find his balance.
Yeah.
We can have a look at another one. Yeah?
We have a question.
Oh, have we?
We have a question, and it's from Sylvia. And she's wondering, at what age do you start lunging or exercise your youngsters? And do you use like lunging with two reins, positive and negative sides about that?
Good question.
Good question. Yes.
When do we start training and lunging the young horse?
I started at 2.5 years old, and depends on the horse. Some horses you could start with, there are lots of things that you should start with, leading them, and you can sort of, what's it called in English when you drive them without a carriage? You just walk behind them to get them to be used.
Long
reining, yeah. But when the horse is 1 year old, you just train them one time, 1 day a week, a little.
What kind of training would that be?
Just like the long reining, just walk.
When the horse is 1 year old.
Yeah, just or leading the horse, just a little to get the horse to get used to stuff. But then when it's like 2 or 2.5, you can start lunging like 1 or 2 times a week. Just because the horse needs to start training the muscles that is supposed to be using when you sit up, because as we have talked about many times, the horse, just as we need to be strong when we're doing the deadlifts or the squats with the weights on, you need to be able to do it in a balanced and strong way. And if we just sit up and then expect the horse to be strong enough to carry us, the horse, as all riding books are saying, and I didn't understand why they did say that all the time when I was little, the horse is not meant to carry anything on its back.
But if you take that upon you to sit there,
you should.
You have taken a responsibility on yourself as well.
You have to take the responsibility to teach the horse how to do it, and to train him so that he is prepared. Yeah. So, and then when the horse is 3, he should be like a little accustomed to moving in the right way, and then you sit up and you don't start training like ordinary hard training. You take it gradually. So yeah.
So there's some pointers for you guys if you are going to start training a young horse. Like Hanne says, do some easy things when the horse is a year old, or some people handle their horse, their youngsters. Move them around a little bit. You need to be able to pick up their feet.
Yeah.
Simple stuff like that. And then what you need to do as well is that if you don't do anything with your horse, if you just lead him around and let him move in the way he likes until he is done with all his growing, let us say the horse is 6 or 7 now, and you have let him move in the way he wants to move, i.e. not in a way meant to carry a rider. Yes? If you do that, now you have a 6-7-year-old horse that is set in his ways and knows what is right for him and wrong for him, and he is very strong. He is strong in will and he is strong in muscle. This is now a recipe for a disaster. This is going to be really, really difficult. This horse that we just saw in the video is moving softly through his back, but he had no neck, and it became obvious after a while that it was very difficult for him to carry from behind.
But we have another. He had some other problems that we're not going to go into that. I want to finish answering the youngster training. So we start that young, and then we increase the difficulty of the training through 3 years, 4 years, 5 years old. And when the horse is maybe when the horse is 5 years old or so, it'll start to show you some of the things it will be good at. This horse will be very elegant. This horse will be a tank. So they're like different things. You're thinking.
What? These horses might be very, very different. And you must be careful that you balance out whether you train the things that are easy for your horse or you train the things that are difficult for your horse. You can overdo both. If you only train the things the horse is good at, the horse will become very difficult to change towards the other stuff later. And if you train only the things that are hard for your horse, you will ruin his self-esteem, if there is such a thing.
So what we're trying to because we have talked about many of these things in other streams, but the topic now is like, how can we train the horses to become the powerful athletes that they need to be in order to do a Grand Prix without using hard measures and forcing. So the reason why I wanted to show that lunging video is because in the lunge you can let the horse get out some steam, and also I'm doing it to let out the tension in the neck and the back.
Yep.
But then we have to do something about the hind legs.
Yes.
And if we have this one, should we have a look at that?
I don't remember what that one looks like. So
Bismarck and the lateral movements in hand. It's 50-87. This is a horse that has got a lot of trouble in his hind legs.
And his back.
And his back is really crooked. You can see that his tail is to the side. So he's in his physical therapy lesson, sort of, crossing his hind legs over. And you can see that he's having trouble with that. And he's telling you really loudly that this is difficult.
Yeah.
And then he's allowed to do that.
Yeah. But have a look at the aids. The stick is just hanging there. So the whip is hardly doing anything at all, just pointing. But the horse finds this movement really difficult and protests to his own body being difficult, is what it feels like to me. And he is allowed to do all these faults. Much better than do it here than do it when you sit on top. This you might be able to handle, but it depends on how the landing is. Sometimes the landing is bad on the saddle and it becomes really hard. So this is a simple exercise to allow the horse to become more supple in the hind legs and the shoulders.
Yeah.
Simple. We move on?
Yeah. And then we have you with a gallant, this is Parsifal. Shall we see? We have a look at him first.
Yeah, Parsifal, the one
that in the lunge.
The earlier
3203.
Yeah.
Because when he was in the lunge, you could see that he was not using his hind leg that much. And Pelle says, you must use that one. And no, I don't want to. And he's like saying, he's voicing his opinion really loudly.
Oh, yeah.
And he's allowed to. If he couldn't, then we wouldn't know where the problem is. Can you tell me what you're doing, Pelle?
Yes, I am asking him to bring that right hind leg forward and use it to lift himself up forward. And he is telling me that I am stuck. And he is stuck just underneath the saddle and in his lower neck. That's what I can see at the moment. So I'm trying to be as soft as I can in my aids, but he can't just run through. And you see that I'm hardly touching him, and he's still protesting like this.
And then there's no point in trying to sit on top of that horse and try to whip him to go forwards.
No. Or to make him carry behind. You'll fall off, definitely.
Yeah. So you have to look at what is actually wrong here and try to...
Yeah, so what's wrong is that you see that just when he moves forward, he actually brings that right hind under and carries with it. He tries all sorts of ways.
And then you let him
He
go.
steps in towards me. He jumps in under and he's like, no, I can't do this and I can't do that. And I'm like, no, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking a fairly simple thing, but you complicate it really, really, really much. Careful. And I'm trying to stay away and trying to not ask much, and then he actually manages. But he trots into it.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's see.
Gallant as well.
Gallant is like 6918. And these are high level sports horses.
These are high energy sports horses. You see, I had to turn all the energy off because he thought it was really hard. So I just turned everything off and said, nah, I'm not doing anything. And then I wait and I ask carefully again. And you see that the horse is literally brimming with energy.
And when we're talking about the whip, now you're using the whip. But I heard someone said earlier that you shouldn't be called a whip because it sounds like it's something that you will sort of use to punish.
Yeah.
But it's a help.
Yes, I can't reach the hind leg with my finger.
No?
I'm long-fingered, but not that bad. And you see how much energy it is? Sometimes it just jumps through and there's nothing I can do about it.
And I have a video of Ares,
Later?
his father,
Yeah.
later when he's actually using his energy to lift his front up.
Yes. By the way, the grandfather of this horse is Blue Horse Romanov, which is a proper high-strung horse, just like this one. So there's all the energy in the world, and this is one of the ways you prepare the horse to carry you so that there is no problem when you sit up. Nothing of what I'm doing here is obviously perfect. That's not what we're trying to say. But this, you see how he tries to bring his hind legs under, but he kind of fails a little bit. You see he kind of drops his hind legs back behind him, and he's like, nah, that left hind leg, that doesn't do carrying. It just pushes, please. So he's kind of weird in all that, but he's also trying to do what I'm telling him to do. And I have to get out of his way. I have to stop the energy. I have to just take away everything. How old was he here, do you think? 4 or 5?
4 or 5, something like that. He has had some injuries, so he's a little late in his development.
Yes. But we don't mind if the horse is a little bit late because we are not going to start him in Grand Prix when he's 8.
No.
Or well, maybe never. You don't know. We don't know that. But that's not the main point. For most of us, the main point isn't to start in Grand Prix. The main point is how and why is this wrong or right or good or bad or what we are trying to do.
And how do we want to train our young horses?
Yeah.
And,
Let's roll on next.
Let's see. Shall we just go directly to this one?
Yeah.
0703. This is the father, and
he's more energetic than the son.
Yeah. And this is the sort of final.
This has gotten quite a bit further on in his education. He's working here in the Cavazon, and he's working on collecting. And it is very, very difficult for him. He's a long, tall horse. But he can really carry the weight on his hind legs. And as you see, no power is needed in the hand and no power is needed with the stick.
But the energy is there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The energy here is so high that, it looks like I'm relaxing. Nah. Nah, my heart is racing and I'm trying to convey relaxation to him so he can be relaxed as well. So this, you can see how the hind legs are carrying the weight, right? That's what we're aiming at.
So can we have a look at 8203?
Okay.
That is one of Ares' sons. That is Parsifal again. He's trotting. It's the same one we saw in Canter. You can see that he's trotting on a very unlevel ground and he's finding his rhythm. But his hind quarters are not under. And And the first time, or one time somebody sat on him, he was freaking out really bad.
Yeah.
And that is, we think, because he's not actually tucking his hind legs under here.
I know what you're aiming at. Am I allowed to phrase that a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So let's just let this one run for a while. This horse is relaxed. He's stretching down, trying to stretch forward. The rhythm is fine. He's not constrained to any degree that's meaningful. And it looks as if all the joints in the hind legs are doing their job. You see there's flexion all over the place. You see that? Everybody sees that? This is not the right thing. The flexion you see here is from when the leg touches down till about when it comes midway. So when it's more or less what do you call it? Senkrecht.
Perpendicular
to the ground when the whole leg is, but the leg doesn't push and carry in any of those. It doesn't push. You see it looks soft. Can you see the leg looks soft?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And this softness is not carrying. It's portraying as if it's carrying.
Yeah.
This is not correct.
So you get weight on the back and then the hindquarters just sinks together.
Yes, because they're used to that.
Mm-hmm.
They are used to hiding underneath the weight.
Yeah.
This is difficult to explain, but I think it's possible to see.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you guys see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that is the reason why you're training the horse in the hand.
Yeah.
To become accustomed to putting weight on the hindquarters.
Yes, let me see 0703 again, please. Look at the musculature in the hindquarters.
And
look at the fetlock in front and the fetlock behind. See? The front fetlock is almost straight. And the hind ones are falling through.
And you wouldn't want to put your toes underneath those hind...
No, those hind legs are actually carrying weight. You see that? And this, when this is properly prepared, you can ask the horse for anything.
And then when you sit up, then the horse will be energetic but not stressed.
Yes.
And then you don't get all that jumping around.
No. You don't get bucking. You don't get kicking. You don't get thrown. The horse is not stressed or afraid because he feels in control of everything. The horse is so strong and so free from blockages and restraints that he doesn't feel afraid at all. And then the horse feels just mighty and it's relaxed, even though you can feel the energy just vibrating.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't feel the energy. You can feel the energy, but it isn't movement.
And
it's just still.
You know, it feels safe, kind of.
Yeah, it feels safe.
And the horse feels really strong and calm. Because he becomes calm when he feels strong.
Right, so we are going to go straight to this picture, 0113.
There you go.
Can you see that the near hind, the one that's close to us, the left hind, is straight?
Yep.
There is no carrying in this leg. None whatsoever.
What about this then? Is that better?
Have a look at 0087.
And this is me and Dalton is not very good at lifting his back.
But the front fetlock is not through. The left fetlock, the rear fetlock, hind fetlock is way deep. He's a little bit out behind himself with the left hind, but Dalton is... This is extremely difficult for him. You can also see that his back isn't quite lifted enough. But he tries to compensate with an amazing ass.
He's really strong.
He's got amazing hamstrings, that horse.
He's trying.
So
we had to have something to show to you, to show what we mean with these things.
yes.
Yeah, it's not perfect at all, but that is just sort of the vector sense in the right direction.
Yeah. Right.
We're going to, we have some videos of other stuff, but that is something that most horse people know, and we have been talking about it before, and like how to mount the horse so that it's safe, take it gradually and stuff like that, and also like sitting on the horse while it's trotting in the lunge to get used to a rider. That is sort of obvious stuff. But what we really wanted to show was how you can take away the danger and the energy. There is a question.
Yep.
Let's fire away.
Nadine is asking, how do you start specific to teach the horse in hand to carry weight with the hind legs, a young horse?
3 to 4 years old. All right. So what you do, first of all, with that young horse is to make sure that he can stretch the part of his back that goes from the withers and a little bit backwards. You need to make sure that the horse lifts that part of its back. If that doesn't happen, it's too stiff/weak in that area, and it cannot carry behind no matter how much you like. Because if you can't relieve the front legs of the weight, the hind legs cannot take it up. The bar that you're going to lift that weight with needs to be strong enough to actually lift it. Your back must be strong enough. Then, if that is all right, what I like to do is make sure that the horse is good to walk around and cross his hind legs over each other on a small circle while staying in an outline that looks fairly all right. So without trying to pull his head up every time. So when you have that, I put the horse towards the fence or the wall. And when I have the horse there, I will see how the horse moves when he is towards the fence or the wall. And if the horse is responsive to either the stick or to my body, the horse will lift a little bit and try to square up into a halt. And he will run away many times. And I will just, let him run around a circle around me, and I'll try again. A few times each way. That is enough for a young horse normally. You know, some of those Spanish and Portuguese horses, they kind of pee off of themselves when they're 3 years old or something. But I guess that's not the kind of horse Nadine was talking about, if I'm not much mistaken. There's another, I think.
Yep. And this is from Hege.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to differentiate between a lot of energy and the horse being tense in this kind of work, or does it not matter? Shalan does not really want to move forward, but when asking her to move the hind leg from the ground, she tends to dance around. Gotten better, but she still finds it difficult. But she usually feels light in the hand when she does this. With Ronja, I feel it more easy to feel the difference. She becomes very strong or hard in the hand when she tenses up.
All right. Really good questions from our viewers out there. Thank you, guys. That's intelligent questions that are hard to answer. Okay. Is there a way to differentiate between a lot of energy and tension in this kind of work? Yes. Does it not matter? Yes, it matters. But we need to make sure that we understand what the difference between tension and energy actually is. And this is the difference. Energy is when you use all the power to do what you want the horse to do. That's what defines it as energy, or positive energy, or impulsion. You can call it several of those things.
And the hind legs are doing the work as well.
Absolutely. Tension is when some of the muscles do not cooperate. And mind you, with your two horses that you just described, this is what's happening. The one horse feels like, oh, she doesn't want to move forward, but she's light in the hand. Yet she's pulling behind the hand, just behind the withers. The other horse is pushing through her nose. So there's just a little bit different, the muscles that don't cooperate. But the same is true for both of the horses. That the horse is light in the hand doesn't mean that the horse is doing good. It can mean that the horse is behind the hand. So obviously it can, because there's a whole point in this training scales that's called contact, right? The horse should come to the contact of the hand, to the contact of the seat. And if the horse can't come up through her back to the seat, she will pull the head back or push forward. That's like the hotter, lighter horses will tend to push back, pull their head back like that, while the really heavy horses will tend to just push through. They just take the underneck and go for it, right? So, but things you can do to make sure is that when, especially with the horse that wants to pull her head back or stay light in the hand, see if you can make your hand move down and forward. See if the horse will follow your hand down forward while you bring the hind legs under.
Yeah, you're doing that a lot when you're working in hand.
Yes, and it opens up the area behind the withers really well. And that is especially important if you, like me, aren't the most flexible around the hips. Don't laugh.
No, I just smiled.
With the horse that is really pushing through, there I would probably try to position the horse a little bit, either to the inside or maybe to the outside, to be a little spicy. Just try that out and see if you can get the positioning to be loose, because that tends to get a really good hold of the underneck.
It's very important. And that is also why it's so dramatic that they sort of fixate the horse's neck like this, because the horse needs to be able to move the first two joints.
Yes.
The atlas and the axis
Yes.
sort of joints to do both this and this.
Yep.
And not only overstretch here and not do anything here.
No, you
should be able to do both.
You
at the
need
same
both, I've been told by a guy. Not in that specific area, but still, I think he was right, even though I wasn't talking about that thing.
He's very correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we can have the time to do more now, but since this is a
reaction,
this is a topic that is really in the vogue right now. So we should do a little more about the dressage movement, dressage training, I guess. We'll see. Perhaps you guys will tell us if there's something more that you would like us to talk about.
Yeah. So, to try and sum up some of what we've talked about today, the training methods, if you are, that have been all over the dressage news, being harsh, pulling, kicking, all of that, obviously bad. Everybody knows that's bad. Most people have failed to some degree or extent in that. You can feel a little bit bad, but don't kill yourself over it. It's all right. You can improve. You're allowed to improve. If, however, this is set into a system in order to make sure that the horses do not move in rhythm, do not move relaxed, then we have a problem. And we will try to educate to the best of our abilities to help both people and horses improve in those areas. And we are trying to respond to what has happened with what we know, which is to improve your seat, to improve your knowledge and your understanding, and also to say, hey, even if the horse is high energy, you can. It is possible.
Yeah.
I think that's all we want to say about this theme at the moment. But we will be back in a couple of weeks. And if you guys dare ask, we dare answer. Thank you. See you later.